Hey there, welcome to the Single Store's The No Show. This is our first show since the rebrand, which all of you know about because, of course, here you are on our page. I'm technology correspondent Lisa Martin, and I'm really excited to bring a very important topic to you today. Please welcome two female rock stars. We've got Sarah Potts, the Director of Strategic Brand Partnerships at Thorn. Sarah, it's so exciting to have you on the program.
Lisa, it's so wonderful to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and Grace Tan is here as well. She's the engineering manager for their application called Spotlight. Grace, welcome.
Thank you so much. Really excited to dig into some of these topics with everyone.
Yes, this is a topic that is close to everyone's heart on the planet. We're going to be talking about child trafficking, specifically data for child safety. So as always with the No Show, we would encourage you to drop questions or comments in the LinkedIn Live and chat here. We will address those questions. And we've got a couple of announcements I'm going to make about a special offer that we have for you that will help support the ambitious goals of ending child trafficking. All right, so the topics that we're going to talk about Thorn, the nonprofit, what they're doing, how they are leveraging technology to fill a gap that was there in terms of child trafficking. Then we're going to talk about SingleStore, why it's core and how it's core to their application called Spotlight, which investigators use in their search to find children. And then we'll talk about outcomes as we always do, and the business outcomes that the technology is enabling Thorn to do. So let's go ahead and start with topic one. Sarah, kick us off. Tell our audience about Thorn and what you guys do.
Absolutely. So Thorn is a tech nonprofit, and what we do is we build technology to defend children from sexual abuse. Today is actually our 8th anniversary. We've been doing this since 2012, and we've had such an incredible time being able to identify the gaps in the ecosystem and be able to build technology to help identify more children at scale. Thorn does 3 big things. We work to accelerate victim identification. That's mostly in the US, so we do some global work as well. And then we also work to empower youth in their communities to be able to be as smart and as protected as they can be in a changing digital environment. And we also work to empower the companies who are hosting content, who are building the communities where people are building real relationships that are being taken advantage of by abusive situations. So those are the 3 core areas of work.
And then you said this was founded in 2012, and this was actually founded by some Hollywood star power, Ashton Kutcher and Demi Moore. Tell me a little bit about the impetus that captivated them to say, we've got to get involved here. We've got to use technology to help solve this problem.
Absolutely. So when we started this work, what happened was they had seen a documentary. Like so many of us do, we see a documentary and we say, oh my gosh, I can't believe we live in a world where that happens. And they'd seen a sex trafficking documentary about some children in Cambodia. And what they did is they started to have some conversations. And what they learned in their early conversations was that it wasn't a problem that was happening only over there. It's a problem that happens in the US. So when they're starting to narrow their focus and understand, okay, what could we do in the United States? They hired our CEO, Julie Cordua, to spend a year going and talking to all the experts in the field. They really wanted to know if they were to invest in this space, what was the possible impact that they could have? The recommendation that came out of that initial research and that launched Thorn in 2012 was the understanding that there is a gap in the technology response around child sexual abuse. We were seeing abusers being able to leverage the newest technologies to groom children, to identify children, to sell children online in the places that we all go on every day. But we were not seeing the front lines who are responsible for identifying and protecting our children being equipped with the same technology. It just simply was an opposite response. There's about 200,000 expert ads in the US posted every day. In those expert ads, which are legal in the US, somewhere in all of that data are children being sold. And so if a law enforcement investigator was looking to find a child in their area of jurisdiction, what could they do? They could log in and they could take a pen and they could take a paper, they could copy paste what they were finding. But all those ads are inherently ephemeral. And we know that trafficking situations have children who are being moved across jurisdictions, moved across states to keep the victim unstable, but also to evade detection. If you don't stay in one place too long, it's hard for people to know that you're up to no good in that area. But being able to understand a little bit more with using technology to organize that information, provide an opportunity for investigators to be more strategic in their outreach to find children, it's allowed us to have an incredible impact.
So 200,000 escort ads posted per day, a lot of lot of data volume. Grace, I'm curious if as Sarah articulated, there was a technology gap. It wasn't being used here to solve this problem. I'd like to get your engineering perspective as why. Is it simply data volumes? Or what do you think was the reason for this gap that Thorn has identified and it's actually working to actively solve?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you've identified, the data volume, yes, that was 100% a big aspect of the problem that we need to solve. Just being able to kind of find the needle in the haystack, right? Like you have all these ads. We obviously want to find the children in these ads, want to be able to surface information that'll help our law enforcement partners to find them faster. And a big part of it was how do we process this information in a way that makes it easily searchable and understandable for law enforcement? And B, what additional insights can we gather from this data that would, really supercharge the law enforcement officers that are working really hard, every single day in this space?
And to automate what was probably a very time-consuming manual process, as Sarah was saying, either going on Google or Craigslist and having to write things down, but then as things are moving in that environment, not being able to follow that, or to Grace, to your point, being able to actually not just ingest that data, but extract insights from it that will help find those children. Huge opportunity. So let's segue into what the technology is that you guys have built. You have several platforms. One of them is called Spotlight. Great. Grace, you're the engineering manager for that. Spotlight is the tool that investigators can leverage to help them with their searches. And before you answer my first question on SingleStore and as it's core to your technology, I want to tell the audience at the end of the show today, I'm going to announce an opportunity where you can be involved in helping end this huge problem. All right, so Grace, talk to us about Spotlight, the tool that you guys built, and how SingleStore is core to enabling it to function.
Absolutely. So just right off the bat, we, quite frankly, leverage SingleStore in just about every single way that you can. As some of the people tuning into this probably already know, SingleStore, is just really, really fast when you're talking about large amounts of data. So we're able to, ingest massive amounts of data every single day, over 1 million data points from images, text, whatever it is that investigators need to kind of power their investigations. And we also leverage full text search that's available in SingleStore to improve searchability for our officers, and also run a ton of different machine learning models within our pipeline as we're processing every single day to surface these insights for our officers. But in terms of our overall architecture, so we leverage a lot of AWS infrastructure. So we, generally speaking, scrape a lot of data. We store it in S3 buckets. We use SQS queues to send over that data to our data pipeline. And then most of the work there just becomes, ingestion, transformation of that data, and also the machine learning analysis of that data before it's all stored into SingleStore. So SingleStore is our primary data store. It's powering both the data pipeline and also, the searching functionality for our officers. And it truly is, it's kind of doing it all for us. It's like the cornerstone for our product.
And so we talk about massive 200,000 plus escort ads per day, which is shocking. And Sarah articulated the different users of the technology, including companies whose websites actually might be used for this and they might not even know it. But from the beginning, I know, Sarah, you and I have talked previously, and you said we knew not only did the founders and Julie Cordua, your CEO, know we've got to it's got to be an intersection of technology here to end this child trafficking problem. But we've got to be able to throw AI and machine learning at it because the volumes are huge and we need to be able to facilitate investigators getting to those victims faster. Talk to me a little bit more, Grace, about from the AI machine learning perspective. Like I can imagine also needing historical data, not just the real-time data, but do you also store like historical data in SingleStore, and how does that facilitate the investigators trying to find children?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like Sarah mentioned a little bit before, the issue space of child sex trafficking is really complex and difficult to sort of wrangle because individuals are moving around the country, sometimes internationally, and in order for investigators to do their investigations properly, they kind of need to know where they are, where they're going, where they've been. So, we do a lot of analysis to kind of come up with timelines of activity for our investigators to use. But on top of that, a lot of our work is also trying to remove data points from the investigators' workload that might not actually be super relevant to their work. So we're all about making our investigators more efficient. We want them to focus on the data points that matter the most, so that they can, really focus and really make sure that they're kind of spending the time where it matters.
Absolutely. And something that I've seen that you guys have achieved, this is massive, is a more than 60% acceleration in victim identification because you've built the technology in partnership. And I want to ask Sarah about that in a second with SingleStore. I was telling Sarah too before when we were talking, when I used to travel, remember travel, guys? I used to go to Las Vegas all the time to cover technology shows. And it's always in the Las Vegas airport that I would see these ads for trafficking. And I wouldn't see them anywhere else, but I just thought this is a problem that's so pervasive, yet so many of us don't know about it. And what you guys are doing to get this information culled down so quickly for these investigators is massive. As I mentioned, a greater than 60% acceleration of victim identification. But Sarah, I want you to talk to our audience a little bit about this symbiotic partnership that Thorn and SingleStore have, and what sort of both sides benefited from in the construction of Spotlight and the technology to solve this huge problem.
Absolutely. One of the things that's exciting about working at Thorn is that we're building technology and we're building products that are helping create real impact for our users and real impact for the children at the center of our mission. But a lot of that work has like incremental gains. A lot of that work has like, okay, where do we start and how do we start adding a little bit of value? And when we launched Spotlight, we weren't even sure if it was going to be what we thought it needed to be. And so we put it in the hands of users who said, oh my gosh, I use this like Google. This is the Google of my investigation search, because of all the ways that Grace was talking about elevating important information, but also about hiding unimportant information so that people can really focus on identifying children. And the partnership that we are able to have with you all is that when we have a new idea for how we want to change the way our product works, we're able to come to you and say, we think this could have exponential impact on our mission. How do you think we could do that using your product? And we've been able to not only work together for years, but also like test out new features that you guys were considering doing, wondering if it would have impact, wondering if it would streamline our workflow. As a tech nonprofit, it means that we have a team of dedicated individuals who are constantly balancing what will have the most impact today. And you guys have been such an incredible partner in helping us answer that question quickly and being true thought partners and understanding what will the best technology for the best bottom line be. And the difference is that our bottom line is trying to identify child victims faster. And the partnership that we have has allowed us to do that.
And Grace, one of the things we talked about, the speed and accelerating victim identification, but I also imagine that there are internal benefits to your team. You don't have to manage a database. You don't have to worry about scaling it in the cloud or in containers. Talk to me a little bit about how that actually facilitates the engineers, I imagine, more focus on the tool on Spotlight and maybe some other tools that you guys are building to tackle huge real world problems.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we love not having to manage another part of our infrastructure. Every single tech team nowadays, I think, is managing a handful, more than a handful of tools that they're hosting themselves. And having SingleStore be managed for us has just been such an amazing boon. I also want to give a really, big shout out to all of the support engineers that work with us, on our SingleStore deployment. You guys do such a fabulous job, with your maintenance cycle, communications, and responding really quickly to any and all questions we might have. We've just had a really positive working relationship with the people on the SingleStore end. So big kudos there. In terms of actual time savings, honestly, we estimate that we probably save a couple weeks to a month worth of engineering time a year, just based on all of the things that we no longer have to think about, worry about, have to maintain, because SingleStore is managed for us.
Excellent. And it allows you to focus on your core competencies and capabilities and what you guys are setting up, that mission, which is so, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is something that everybody can understand to a degree, but also the awareness that you guys are raising with SingleStore, I think is really important. As I said, I always see these ads in the Las Vegas airport, and also for like kidneys trafficking. I thought, oh, this must be a problem here. But it's one of those problems that's not well known, and without the efforts of Thorn and what you're doing with SingleStore's power, this is something that would be pervasive. So Grace, last question for you. As we know, in every technology conversation we have, we expect data volumes to grow, and expect, technology is inherently neutral, but we know that there are bad actors that are using it for nefarious acts. How will SingleStore, Grace, enable Spotlight to continue to serve children as the data volumes increase, as traffickers are getting smarter? What's that expectation like going forward?
Yeah, I think in terms of our work, we've already seen that. We have already requested, for example, extra storage from SingleStore. And when you guys say that you do scale out seamlessly, it's pretty much darn true. And we haven't had an issue with that. So, in the future, as our volumes do continue to grow, because what's really exciting about Spotlight is this is such a new tool. We're really just starting to scratch the surface of the impact that we could have, in the States and potentially worldwide. I know for a fact that we definitely have so much more to do. And with that comes, a lot more data to analyze, a lot more insights to collect from the data that we already have, all obviously in service of the children that we want to protect. And so from like a partnership perspective, the fact that we are on a technology like SingleStore that can scale out so seamlessly, really it's just a click of a button, maybe an email. And yeah, that's basically about it from our perspective. And it's been really great.
Awesome. That's fantastic. It sounds like I said a minute ago, like a symbiotic partnership, which is so beneficial. And so I teased you viewers in the beginning of our segment that I have something special to offer you. If you share this video, I should say when you share this video, starting at 12:01 a.m. Pacific time on Giving Tuesday, which is the 1st of December, for each share of each replay, SingleStore is going to donate to Thorn's ambitious goals of ending child trafficking. So please reshare, help SingleStore to help Thorn, to help the children. Grace and Sarah, it's been such a pleasure talking to you today on an important topic. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much.
We want to thank all of you for watching SingleStore's The No Show. I'm Lisa Martin, and we'll see you next time.